This episode is sponsored in part by our friends at Chronosphere. When it costs more money and time to observe your environment than it does to build it, there's a problem. With Chronosphere, you can shape and transform observability data based on need, context, and utility. Learn how to only store the useful data you need to see in order to reduce costs and improve performance at chronosphere.io/Corey-Quinn. That's chronosphere.io/Corey-Quinn. And my thanks to them for sponsoring my ridiculous nonsense. Hello and welcome to Last Week in AWS. Let's get into it. Amazon Kendra launches featured results, kind of like the AWS Marketplace's ads that have been proliferating throughout the AWS console. AWS Chatbot now supports search of AWS resources and AWS content. Look, I'm reluctant to turn Chatbot into something that's bidirectional, personally. I use it to present information to me, but using Slack as a control interface opens a door that I would prefer to leave firmly shut. AWS Copilot adds support for full customization with AWS CDK or YAML overrides. I just wish there was a way that I could get it or any CLI to faithfully reproduce the now deprecated ECS CLI, because I use that thing to get logs of task failures, and now I haven't found a good way to expose the same information as quickly or simply with the newer generation of tools. Copilot, of course, is completely ill-suited to this because it seems to be focused on getting started greenfield apps rather than looking at existing things. AWS Repost now includes AWS Knowledge Center articles. The continuing proliferation of the same content through all of AWS's channels means that there's now increased difficulty in finding the content you actually want through the restatement of the same thing you don't need. This is a larger problem with the internet, I suspect. New Cost Explorer users now get cost anomaly detection by default. I'd like a quick way to deploy this to existing accounts, but, I'll take this as a first step. Tailscale SSH is a new and arguably better way to SSH. Once you've enabled Tailscale SSH on your server and user devices, Tailscale takes care of the rest, so you don't need to manage, rotate, or distribute new SSH keys every time someone on your team leaves. Pretty cool, right? Tailscale gives each device in your network a node key to connect to your VPN, then uses that same key for SSH authorization and encryption. So basically, you're SSHing the same way you're already managing your network. So what's the benefit? Well, built-in key rotation, the ability to manage permissions as code, connectivity between any two devices, and reduced latency. You can even ask users to re-authenticate SSH connections for that extra bit of security to keep the compliance folks happy. Try Tailscale now. It's free forever for personal use. Introducing data on EKS. Modernize data workloads on Amazon EKS. Now, this is a surprisingly broad but also deep dive of the various tooling around data workloads in conjunction with Kubernetes. That said, be sure to watch your availability zone boundaries because Kubernetes remains blissfully unaware of data transfer costs, so this can submarine you in a few painful ways. And finally, friend microservices using Amazon DynamoDB and event filtering. Acquaintance serverless and Elder Monolith are also going to be showing up for the happy hour. And that's what happened last week in AWS. I'm cloud economist Corey Quinn. Please stay salty.